Welcome Rotarians and guests to the Rotary Club of York, where our mission is to improve life in the city of York by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. I am your president, Courtney Piccolo, and as you know, we start off all of our meetings by reciting the four-way test. If you would please join me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill or better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Today, our opening song, God Bless America, and the pledge will be led by past President Aaron Jacobs, followed by the invocation with past President Jackie Summers, and visitor introductions by Lynn Morrison.
Thank you, President Courtney. Hello, Rotarians. I just want to point out that you just went and recited the four-way test without the crutch of the slide. Congratulations for getting it. Please join me in song. God bless America. Beside and God, the mountains, through the Rotary, the ocean, wonderful. Bless America, my sweet home. Bless America, my sweet home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God.
Good afternoon. Would you please join me in a word of prayer? Eternal God, creator and sustainer of all, we give you thanks for this time of fellowship and friendship as we gather in gratitude and humility. We ask for your blessings upon this center. May it serve as a place of reflection, enlightenment, and inspiration. Let it remind us of the remarkable stories and individuals who have shaped our community, and may it fuel our commitment to continue their legacy of service, unity, and progress. We're thankful for the leadership and vision of our speaker, and for all the leaders and visionaries and generous donors whose unwavering dedication brought this dream to fruition, preserving our collective history for future generations. May it forever stand as a testament to our rich heritage and community spirit. And as Rotarians, help us to draw strength from the lessons of history and to work diligently for a brighter future. May we be mindful of the opportunities made known to us to render service above self. Thank you for the nourishment of this food and for those who have prepared and served it. And now to you we commend this time in honor and praise. Amen.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys are all cozy in this nice, pretty space here. I have the pleasure of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and stay standing until President Courtney has the opportunity to welcome you. First, we have Eric Barshinger, a guest of Alyssa Barshinger. Shantea Knight, a guest of Amy Brillinger. Pat Davis, guest of past President Bob Davis. Jane Dellinger, guest of Don Dellinger. Janelle Weaver, guest of past President Aaron Jacobs. Dana James, guest of Dan May. Kendall Menser, guest of Eric Menser. These are all guests of Joan Mummert. She brought everybody, I think. Yeah. No one's Amy Serafino, Nicole Smith, Dan Fink, Terry Altland, Samantha Dorm, and Jill Olney. Emily Seitz, guest of Robin Rohrbach. Rich Robinson, guest of past President Jackie Summers. And Melissa Beaverson and Elizabeth Waite, guests of Laura Wagner.
Visitors, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to our Rotary Club today here at the Rotary Club of York. We are dedicated to fostering fellowship and driving positive change in our community and beyond. So thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. Rotarians, please help me welcome our visitors. And now for some announcements. Congratulations to Rotarian Natalie Gunderson and her husband Reed on the birth of the new addition to their family. Many of you likely saw Natalie last week. We do have a slide on this. Oh, there you go. There she is. You probably saw Natalie here last week. Well, hours after being here, she gave birth. So they're doing well. And in this next picture, check out members of our club that have been spotted around the globe. We have past president Glenn Miller and Michael Haiti. They share this photo taken in County Cork, Ireland, during their current trip that they are on right now. So I'm not sure that they attended the meeting, but I'm sure they enjoyed some Guinness. Some more announcements. The Service Project Development Committee, they will meet immediately following the meeting today here in this conference room. The Membership Recruitment Committee will meet on Monday, September 30th at 2 p.m. on Zoom. The Student Education Committee will meet on October 1st at 8 a.m. on Zoom. The Fundraising Projects Committee will meet on October 2nd at 10:30 at the Country Club of York. And all committee chairs will meet on October 2nd at 1:30 p.m. at the Country Club of York. Just a friendly reminder, if you've not completed the member survey yet, to please fill that out. Your answers are important as we work to make our club meet the needs of our members and we provide you value of connections and fun. And now I invite Al Blakey to the podium to introduce our speakers for today. Al.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Glad you're here. As the legion of people that are wearing these ribbons are very glad you're here. As you walk around, and if you have any questions, we'll be happy to tell you about why we are so happy that you're here. President Courtney asked me to give a brief introduction to our speakers today. This is Joan, and this is Deb. Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, all right. So we're going to do a lightning round of fill in the blank. So Joan, you are originally from?
New Hampshire,
And you went to college at?
University of Indianapolis,
And you did your graduate studies at?
Hopkins,
And before moving to York, you lived in the city of?
Towson, Maryland.
Where you did what?
Worked for the Maryland Historical Society.
You came to York in the year?
2002, I married my husband.
Why isn't he here today? You don't have to answer that. And your most recent role has been?
President and CEO, I think. Yeah.
This place.
Okay. All right, Danny, you see how this works? I do. You think we can do this? Okay, Danny, you were originally from?
Here,
And you went to high school?
William Penn Senior High School. Samantha Dorn.
And you went to college
Shippensburg University,
and did your graduate work at?
Temple University. Temple Owls are everywhere.
Yes, indeed. And you came back to York for the profession of?
Teaching,
In which district?
York City School District,
Ultimately, you became a superintendent of?
Northeastern School District,
And after you left Northeastern, you became the inaugural leader of?
York Academy Regional Charter School.
And your favorite color is?
It's the toughest question ever.
Ladies, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Joan Muller, Dennis. Bachman.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the York History Center, I'd like to welcome you here. We are very proud of this building, obviously, and I'm going to take you through a little bit of the history as to how we actually got here. It was sort of a circuitous route starting back in the middle 1800s. So before we start, I'd like to recognize the board members that are here. And would you please state York County History Center board members that are here? Thank you very much. And I know these people were recognized before, but these people made this happen. And could I ask the staff members of History Center to stand if they're here? Jones, there we go. So let's start with a little bit of history. First of all, this was a 10-year project, started 10 years ago, and of course was interrupted by the pandemic that happened recently. It ended up being a $30 million project, a little higher than we expected, only because as a result of COVID, there was a time delay, significant. And also, as you understand, there was a cost escalation coming out of COVID. So doors and windows ended up costing us much more than what they did as we had the estimate previously. So the purpose of this was to create a campus-like atmosphere of our holdings. I think the committee that worked on this 10 years ago felt strongly that there was confusion in the people that visited with us because our venues were disjointed. There was one on East Market Street, there's the Agricultural Museum, then we have this colonial complex. So there was 4 realizations that came out of that discussion. 1, we're too spread out in the city of York. 2, we have too much stuff. 3, our buildings require too much maintenance. And 4, we lack resources. Pay for those things. Maybe. Okay, next slide.
Start singing, Danny.
What's your favorite color? Okay, so this is the guy that started it all. Thomas Alva Edison, born in Milan, Ohio, in 1847. He was, of course, the person that focused his attention on DC current, direct current, as opposed to Westinghouse and Tesla, who focused on AC current. So there was this big competition in America about where we're going to go with this thing. And actually, Edison had a real strong connection with J.P. Morgan. Between the two of them, J.P. Morgan doing the financial part of it, created a smear campaign against AC current, touting the health difficulties that would occur with AC current. So that's why we are here in York, and we ended up with the Edison Machine Works, or the Edison Electric Company here in York, Pennsylvania. So this is the Edison. This is the Edison Machine Works established in New York City. They were manufacturing all the equipment that was used to generate power in the country. Next one. And this is the first Edison dynamo and incandescent lights were installed in New York City in 1881. And right after 1881, York also was looking at electric lights. Next one. And you might have heard the word Adam Deasy before, and he purchased the York Gazette newspaper in York and spearheads the push for electric lights in York and organizes the Edison Electric Light Company. Next one. So in 1885, the Edison Electric Company begins operation with the first power plant located on this site and produced 75 watts of energy. Pretty big stuff. The people that put this thing together, there were several of them, included a gentleman by the name of Jeffrey Yost, John Wiest, Jacob Baer, Charles Eisenhart, and Adam Kesey. Those are the 5 people that put this electric company together. Next one. So how did this building sort of materialize or develop over time? 1885, Edison Electric Light Company begins operation, first power plant with that building. That's the building that initially started this power company. Next one. So obviously it was a power company, and it was created its power by burning coal. So behind it, when DZ bought the land, he bought access to that coal yard that's circled in red. So that's where the coal was dumped. And of course, the green arrow toward the creek is where we got the water to cool the boilers that actually produce the electric. And next one, please. So remember, Philadelphia Street's out front, and you're going to see reference to Water Street, which is on my right, which is now called Pershing Avenue. You know why it's called Water Street? Next one. So now there was another addition. We're getting bigger. We have to generate more power. So in 1887, they built an addition which increases the capacity to 195 watts. Kilowatts, excuse me, 195 kilowatts. Next one. Everybody knew that the trolleys were coming to York. And one of the reasons they expanded the plant was because this contract with the trolley car company that needed power to run their trolleys. So that's one of the reasons for the expansion. And these trolleys ran in York until 1939. There were 5 major trolley tracks in York that went from all different areas outside of York into the center of town. And if you read newspaper articles back in the day of the trolleys, just like car accidents today, there were trolley accidents back then. Most of the time they involved collisions between horse-drawn trolleys and the electric trolleys, because the horses didn't move as fast as the electric cars. So in some cases, trolleys and horses collide, which wasn't good. Next one. So the Edison Company of York builds a new 2-story plant around the existing building. So they had to expand. So they built around the buildings that were there. Once construction was finished, they tore down what was inside. So they have a much larger building that occupied that space. 1895, the next one. 1895, the York County Historical Society is founded. So we've been around for a long time. Next one. So in 1904, the first section of the new turbine room is built at the Edison plant. Next one, please. First section, the boiler room, and the second section, the turbine room was built. That's when the first smokestack was erected. That smokestack was 188 feet tall, and it replaced 6 steel towers that were on that white building behind it. Next one. Second section of the boiler room and the third and final section of the turbine room was built in 1914. Next one. And the third section of the boiler room was built in the Edison plant, and this smokestack was 182 feet tall. It was built on a concrete slab 6 feet thick and at a cost of $6,700. Build that today. Next year, please. And as a result of expansion, then the final building was a 2-story warehouse along Philadelphia Street to support maximize plant operations. And that's what's here today. You can see that in front of our current building. Next one. This is a look at the electric company 1925. And at the time that they were at maximum capacity, they were burning 200 tons of coal per day. 200 tons of coal per day. Keep that running. Next one. You've all seen this around before. We have one of these guys downstairs. This sort of became the emblem for the Edison Electric Company. As a way, I knew that there was one in York County around the York Haven Dam at one time. And of course, we have one downstairs, but this is a picture of the Edison Company with Ready Kilowatt on the front of it. Next one. So in between 1925 and 1970, we're at maximum capacity, and they felt it necessary to once again adjust the plant. So they tore down the first smokestack. It was torn down one brick at a time. They couldn't destroy it from the inside, fall in. They had to pull it out one brick at a time because of the other structures. And then they eliminated that building that's in back that's in dotted line. That was removed. Next one. So in this process, we went to the National Park Service for a grant that would help us build this facility. And we had a plan, and we shared that plan with the Park Service, and they came back with requirements. Basically said, if you're going to get money from us, you have to adhere to two issues. One, we have to stay within that red space. That's all you can use. And secondly, number two, no additions higher than the lowest part of the building. So that puts some real constraints on the size of this building for us. Next one. So I think under the direction of Rob Kinsley, who was the architect for this project, we came up with some alternatives. Those alternatives included the first one on the left, which is the green part, and the green part on the right-hand side were two alternates that we submitted to them, and they said no. So no money from the Park Service. So we proceeded on without that support. Next one. So here are actual drawings of the two alternatives that we submitted to the Park Service. The one on the left, the one on the right, and of course, we chose the one on the left. My left, the rear right. So that's the building that you currently see. Next one. At this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Joan, and she's going to talk about some public experiences with the program.
Thank you, Dennis. Good afternoon, everybody. So, so one of the things that's really important about museums is the experience. So we are no longer in the business of telling you things. We're in the process of facilitating knowledge. And so we do that. If you've been down there, through a number of different ways, you can get on the digital screens, or you can even use some of the hands-on activities. So we're facilitating things and we're teaching as we do this. Museums, though, in the community serve a lot of different functions beyond just teaching. So there was a study done not long ago where it asked a lot of folks across the country, what would happen if there were no museums? None. Well, people got very excited and they thought, oh gosh, history, we'd lose our history. That's one of the most important things. And actually that's music to our ears because history is one of those things that museums do, I think, particularly well. And we're proud to have this history, this community, this county, this city, for you to enjoy. So a couple of other things about museums, they are the #1 thing that people go to visit when people go to new communities, new cities, particularly if you're traveling across the country to new cities you've never been to. People want to know about the area, so that's what they typically do. Or they might want to know about art, wonderful art museums across this country. So we have a lot of benefits. Our field offers a lot of benefits. We are the cultural anchors for communities, that destination that I just mentioned. We are economic drivers. People come to communities to see museums. And we are educational centers, as I said earlier. We offer unique learning experiences, as I just referenced, hands-on. You can read, you can hear. There are all kinds of ways to learn. We have primary sources. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit, because particularly history museums, primary sources are how we interpret history for the community. And we're for everybody. We're for all learners, all ages. We talk about learners of all ages, little ones to more experienced ones. So as we designed this place, we worked with a group out of Chantilly, Virginia called PRD Group. They do a lot of history museums, and they really know how to pull together stories to make things more relevant for people. So they talked a lot about what is the visitor experience. They went around the entire county and also the city to gather information about our community and what history is important. They pulled it all together, and then we went back out to ask how this sounded, how the entire exhibit sounded, and then we made adjustments and we created stories, and then all of these steps came together into what you have today. And the board was very instrumental in making sure that as we were going forward, they wanted to see us do some things that would make us more relevant to the community. And one of those was make this an iconic place. The stack is an iconic image. Let's meet at the stack. So one of our goals as an organization is to get people to say, hey, let's meet at the stack. Come here, have an experience, whether we're doing a program or you just want to come and read in the library or about your genealogy or hang out in the cafe. We would love to have you meet at the stack, have your meetings here. We want to make sure that we're representing all of our history and that we're connecting inside to outside. We'll talk about that in a minute. So these are some of the floor plans as we developed the entire building. As you look at this side on the right-hand side, that is the building just outside these windows. That is the warehouse building that Denny referenced. This is the parking lot. What do you think? Pretty good? So this is the parking lot and the lobby below. And then the front part of the building that faces Pershing Street is all exhibits. And then the reading room of the library is on the first floor. So we have a lot of good circulation. So as I mentioned, we really worked hard to make sure that the stories that we're telling were able to be conveyed in different ways. Digital was one of our things. The other thing we talked about as we designed this place is changeability, because museums in the past, you'd put up a new exhibit or a core exhibit and it'd be there for 30, 40 years. And that gets boring. Museums don't want to be boring anymore. So our design team made sure that the digital elements are all changeable. We can add to them, and our hands-on activities could be changeable as well. The films that we show downstairs are changeable, and the artifacts that are in the cases are also changeable. So everything that we've done to design this place is designed to make change, to make it more exciting, bring people back, and tell all these crazy stories, because there's so many in York County, we can't stuff them all in one exhibit. So as I mentioned, the library and archives, this is where a lot of the primary sources come from. So if you think about how do we know a particular industry's history, it's probably in our records. And if it isn't, we would love to have it. So that's really important. Photographs, the 1,000 or more photographs that you see on the digital screens downstairs all came from our library and archives. These primary sources are the source of all the stories that we tell. And so we're very grateful to have those. We have film, we have Bibles with family histories in them. We have family histories, genealogies, lots of things to come research. So if you want a project, we'd love to have you. So this is just another image of what the reading room looks like. On the second floor, there's a bridge between the offices, also out your window right there. The bridge goes, so when you're in the exhibits, you'll go upstairs down in this front area on Pershing. You will come either up the stairs or the elevator to the rest of the exhibit, and then you will move over to the History Keepers hallway. And if you're staying this afternoon, please stay and go through one of our tours. You'll see all of the archives up on the top. It is pretty stunning. It took 60 truckloads, 600 cases of books and material that moved from historical to here. It's a pretty massive project, but we're very proud of having it done. It's beautiful. So again, this illustrates the technology. So we have hands-on things, low tech, we have high tech with digital elements. There are 9 different digital screens to touch. And then you've got 5 different towers to check out photographs. And this is where we are now, where the seating is, and then the kind of back of house supports. And here you are. So what are our future priorities? Again, making this come to fruition, making what the board and the staff and community members asked us to do. Make this place relevant, make it the center of activity in downtown. So our biggest priorities are making sure that we are collecting and sharing all stories, because it's not something we did very well in the past. So we engaged Ophelia Chambliss for a while to help us collect stories from community members who didn't feel comfortable coming into our old building. So we did that. Samantha Dorn was very critical. Where'd she go? She's out there. In helping us get stories from Lebanon Cemetery. So we are really blessed with the number of people who helped us create a more robust and accurate history of York County's past. Financial sustainability for any business, and particularly the nonprofits, is really important. So one of the things that people may not realize about museums is that most of our expenses are devoted to people, because people need to interpret those primary sources in the library and archives. People need to be able to do the research, be able to share it with you, and that happens in a number of different ways. So about 73% of our budget is people. And buildings. Buildings are really important to museums because we wouldn't have a museum without a building. It'd be very different. So what sometimes people think of as overhead is actually program for us. And that's really important, program. Because our people create programs. Our people create exhibits. Dynamic programming, another priority. So we, how many of you have been to Oyster Festival? It's coming, Oyster Festival. It's coming October 20th, Sunday, and it's going to return to the Colonial Complex where it was before. So Oyster Festival is not only a fundraising event for us, it's also a programmatic event. So you'll get to see hands-on activities taking place, reenactors. We do a very significant Articles of Confederation Day. So that is November, it's a Saturday. 15th, 16th, I don't have my calendar. November. Check our website. We have it all there. So these are the types of things that we do. We do family days. We do second Saturdays. We do symposiums. We try to work with various audiences. So our primary audience is history buffs, no surprise. But we also have young adults. We have families. We have schools. We have diverse communities. Those are all of our priority audiences that we try to bring in here. The other thing we're really trying to do, because I can't stuff a lot of history in this wonderful 15,000 square foot exhibit, because York County is pretty prolific in what we've created over the years, is that we want to encourage our visitors to go out and visit the entire county. So thanks to Explore York, we have 3 digital screens with pins on them. You can pick places that might be of interest to you. You can collect them like maybe Monopoly cards, and you can send them to yourself so that you can go visit these places later on. As you go through the exhibits, on the reader rails, there are little red rectangles that reference some of the places that are on these screens. So we can't do it all, but we want to make sure we send you to see it all. Collections. How many of you have businesses that work with inventories? So when you inventory something, it's usually 500 of this, 1,000 of that. Our inventory is 90,000 pieces of one. Does that make sense to the folks who do inventory? 90,000 three-dimensional pieces. There's 450,000 pieces in the library and archives. So for years after mergers that we went through, we have been taking collections that maybe weren't stored in appropriate manners, maybe on the left. And this is what we're trying to accomplish on the right, because it is our legal responsibility to make sure that we take care of these artifacts for the community. And that's our job. So that's what we're trying to do. It's one of our highest priorities going forward. So I think we gave you a quick overview. Any questions? Yes.
What's the capacity of this room in its various forms?
So ideally, we could hit 150 in here, but I'm looking at 110 and saying it's a little tight. So no dance floor. But you can put 150 in here without the pavilion and without the urns and some other things. Figure it that way. And then we have probably 180 in theater style seating. So those would be the 2 main things that we would help people, because we do rentals. Just saying.
Talk about that.
Do rentals? Museums like earned income. It's pretty important. So we have 2 places you can rent, or you can rent the entire place. So you can rent this room independent of the lobby. You can rent the lobby independent of this. You can rent the entire place and the exhibits too. So we have lots of different configurations that can serve the community. And what I'm very happy to say is, since we have opened in August, we've had a lot of great people and groups in here. So thank you for that. Yeah.
So you mentioned your inventory system and the challenges that come with the nuance of your inventory, and even Denny opened his comments with that was one of the number 2 challenge that was brought up in trying to think about the future. And I can imagine that the inventory grows over time as history continues to move forward. What do you do with what I'm going to call excess inventory that the organization amasses?
Define excess.
Or that you can store or handle.
Yes, it is a great question, and one that the entire museum field grapples with. I think if the simplest answer, and it's not this simple, but if we had 12 spinning wheels and 3 of them had really great stories about families who owned them and how they were used, those would be the 3 that we would hang on to. The others might go to auction because we have a responsibility to do arm's length auction. That's how we deaccession and let things go. It's a legal process. That's the process that we would be going through. But what it takes to do that is the research on each one of those 12 spinning wheels. So it is time consuming. And typically what happens in museums is the inflow is faster than the outflow. And so we have a collection that is much larger than any of our neighbors in surrounding counties.
Your county's known for hoarding.
We evidently do that, yes.
The other building, the old by, they flooded, and they closed down, the stuff still there. I'm thinking there probably is stuff still there. And secondly, importantly with that is, what is the, you showed a nice pie chart of activities for where money is spent. What is the income pie chart look like?
A great question. So I'll take that one first. So the income side, more than 50% of our income is people, is this really generous community. And I get emotional. It's important to us, and we're very, very grateful that people care very deeply about their history. Then you have the Cultural Alliance, who is very generous to us. Thank you, Kelly, and Cultural Alliance Board. We get grants periodically from places like Explore York or foundations. We have earned income that I just mentioned. So it's a diverse revenue stream with most of it coming from people. Yep, individual donations. So whether that be membership or annual fund, sponsorships even, but that's earned income. In terms of the other museums, so the Historical Society building still has the collection, the three-dimensional collection in it, and they're working to deinstall the old exhibits and house those so that they can be eventually moved. It is for sale. So anybody need a building? It's a great building. 52,000 square feet. It's really great. So the Ag and Industrial Museum, a lot of the macro artifacts came over here, but there's still many macro artifacts over there. So it's open Friday and Saturday, and it's still available for rentals.
Yeah.
No, there are hard decisions to be made, and the biggest one is collections. Do we put the collection in storage in that building since we own it? No mortgage. Hang on, Kelly, because I think, did I have? No.
I was just going to ask about the Industrial Museum. It's one of my favorites because of the Pullman cars and the big, great wheel and the caskets, and that really tells visually a really great story. And I was wondering, are you going to be making changes to that along the lines of what you've done here to keep it modern, relevant, and updated?
I don't even know how to answer that. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to what we can sustain.
Right.
And this organization, I think many know that at one point we had 89,000 square feet in 1998. And by 2003, we had 210,000 square feet of real estate and on the same budget. And so you can't sustain that. And so this is why we've been talking about right sizing. So why I can't answer that is the board is grappling with what happens to that building. If it becomes storage, part of it, then can those other pieces stay, and in what form? There certainly is an opportunity to have like a please touch history experience. Could that be the future use? To be determined. Kelly.
Can you talk about the plan for the organ?
So the Tannenberg organ is out for restoration. We had hoped that it would be here in October, but we've been told that it is in February. So in the meantime, this is our Tannenberg organ. We're very grateful to have it. Yeah. Yes.
Joan, can you talk a little bit about your paper archives and all of those records and documents and books? Are they only on paper? Are they digitized? Are they searchable computer-wise? How does that work?
So some of the photographs, Nicole's back over here. I don't know that I can answer it as well as you can. I would say most of it is not digitized. It's a very time-consuming activity. It has to go into a record. There has to be some sort of inventory of that record. So what percentage, Nicole, of our photographs would you say are digitized?
It is fairly small. We have hundreds of thousands of photographs, so maybe 20%.
Yeah.
But we continue to do it. We also continue to set more. So
Again, inflow more than outflow, but it is something that we love to have volunteers help us with. We love to have interns help us with, because it's really important, and that's what people want, are digitized images that they can access and search through. So right now we're a little old style, but a lot of that has to do with funding to be able to get those things done. Melissa?
So in the, from a marketing branding standpoint, this now the center of the York County History Center.
This is our hub, yes.
Okay, and from a visitor standpoint, if they were to come here on a Friday or Saturday, then they also go to the Ag and Industrial Museum all as part of their experience.
Yes, yes. So we have a season, and Ag and Industrial is year round, but again, we've condensed the hours. This is year round. The Colonial Complex could be really chilly, so that is not year round. It goes to Thanksgiving weekend, typically opens the beginning of April. Same with the Fire Museum, not much heat there. So that's what we want to have happen, is people come here and buy their tickets here, because then we can give them instruction. However, if you go to the Ag and Industrial Museum on a Friday, you can buy your tickets there. We're trying to meet people where they are, so we don't have to move them. Any other? No? So we have a couple of things. We have tours downstairs, and we really want you to do a tour rather than wander. So I think we have 3 different team members downstairs to meet you. We'll divide up down there. As you leave, you'll get a free pass to come back, because we definitely want you to come back. And just thank you very much for being here today. We are thrilled to have you in our home. Thank you.
Joan and Denny, thank you very much for sharing such insightful details about the new History Center and for being such gracious hosts to all of us today. It's inspiring to see how you're preserving and celebrating our community's rich heritage. I'm excited to see how the new center will bring people together and to learn and connect with our local history. And if you've not done the tour before the meeting today, definitely, like Joan said, I would encourage you to attend. It'll take place 5 minutes after the meeting is over, I should say, after the meeting ends today. As you all know, instead of giving the speakers a gift, we purchase a book and we ask them to sign the book plate, and then we donate the book locally. This week's book will be donated to the YWCA Early Childhood Center in York City, along with a bookmark made by the students at Creative York. Next week, we will be back at our normal location at the Country Club, and we will hear from Captain Jamal Pratt, Director of Recruitment Service for the Pennsylvania State Police Academy, which is located in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and widely considered to be one of the best state trooper academies in the nation. He will offer insight into the new academy construction project and some of the newer training that the cadets received to become prepared to serve the citizens of this Commonwealth. So, reminder, downstairs tour in 5 minutes of the History Center. And for the Speedy Committee, earlier I announced that your meeting will be in this room. It's actually going to be on the 2nd floor of the administration building here. So not in this room, the 2nd floor of the administration building. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
You too, Mike. Good talking to you.